What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we are diving into pulling the dash out of this thing. Alright, so we're going to get started out by removing our covers underneath there, getting the AC, head unit, all that stuff out, getting the steering column out. We've already got our pillar covers off. Alright, so there it is. Lower panels are off on this side. I'm going to go through and mark this stuff, trunk release, etc. And then to remove our steering column, we're going to get those three 10mm bolts there. Then we'll remove this V-guard here. Two looks like 13 or 15 millimeters there, and then we'll have a couple connections to unplug, and then our steering shaft should come out. This ribbon connectors to the steering column. This section of wires here is going into the steering column as well, and then on this harness here, a couple big wires going up and a couple more behind them, connectors all going up here to that switch there. We're moving on now. You're going to start pulling all this stuff off of here. Get that out, get that out. Mark all the wires for this because it's all getting removed. Get that out, and then should be able to get to any bolts that are right here, and then we'll move to that side, pull the undercovers and everything out. Alright, so here's where we're at. All this stuff is out. Wires are marked, labeled, all that good stuff. Got the panels off from under here. And then the most nerve-wracking of this entire job is popping this top panel out. It's just held in with clips that you just pry it out, but I've just heard of nightmares of them breaking every time it happens. Now they make replacement panels for this, but I would like to not have to buy one. So I have some plastic wedges. I'm going to come through and kind of wedge here, wedge along it and try and keep it all even, and then I'll come in and try and pop right exactly where the clips are at, and hopefully it'll come out in one piece. She's out. Fingers crossed, so far we did not break her. All right. Get this out of there. And my GoPro's falling. Let's check this out. Oh, it looks like that tab broke off there. That tab came out. Screw. Alright, so the dash is just about ready to come out of here. We've gotten all the bolts undone. We're going to want to undo this one here. There was a couple smaller ones I took off of right here and across the bottom side, but I don't think they needed to come off because the bracket they screwed to, I think all that's coming out together in one. But you will need to remove all these ones across the top that I showed, and the two down here under the center console. So it's actually loose and ready to come out, but I think everything that's holding me back is just all the wiring and all the clips and everything in there. Okay, so we've got in here a little bit further now. So we've gotten all of this routed out of here. This is the headlight switch and everything that was right here. This is a fuse box. It's coming out right here. Flash relay was tucked down in here and clipped onto that bracket, so I pulled it out. Right here, there was one factory zip tie there, and then there's a couple push pins. There's one for this, and then there's another one for a relay that I've dropped down behind there. This relay here. Also have gotten this bulkhead disconnected right here, and it just kind of lifts up and loops out of there. Lower bracket here has been disconnected. These grounds go right there. I've marked them, been marking all my wires and everything. So this whole side of the harness is out. There's one screw right in there, and you can get it through right here. That released this AC vent. to where it could push back far enough to get the harness out of right here for the gauge cluster and to get the harness over these loops here. So that's all free now as well. So now we're moving over. Down here we've got this clip here, and it pops open with a flat head. And then there's also a zip tie right here we need to cut. This little capped off terminal here we'll have to pop off, and then we'll have to get our OBD2 port off of here, and that will release all that's right here from what I can see. This connector right here is clipped into that hole. It is going around this bracket and into the floorboard, so this one will get disconnected. The rest of this is already, I've got disconnected, and we'll pull that sucker out, but there's a couple in here for the HVAC system we're gonna have to disconnect. All right, so these wires right here were tucked way up there. There was no way I was gonna be able to get that dude out, so I ended up cutting that. There's no way to access it from the back to try and push it through or anything. But that is the little red security light that sits up top right there. So you're gonna pull that guy down. Looks like we've got some more clips pushing the harness in right there. These relays are down right here. They were clipped up there. And then we got this little module right here. 2 connectors on it. Blue and black and red connectors there. Those got to be unplugged. Well, I just opened the passenger door and it just fell over. So we got to be getting close. We'll get the wiring out from under here by the glove box area, and that should be the last of it. This main harness right here that we had a zip tie and a clip on. There's another clip there. There's a couple more going all the way across here. So we pop all those, that should come loose. So we got all these clips popped off for this main harness. There's the airbag harness right here is clipped right there, but it looks like we can just unplug it. So this is the body control module. It was up in this bracket right here, and this tab, I was able just to pull this tab back. This side popped out, and then I can pull it down, so it just drops down out of the way. And I think we are ready to come out with this thing. Probably recommend you have a hand from someone when you take this thing out of here. It's not extremely heavy, it's just bulky and weird to hold on to. You don't want to scratch your stuff up either. The bolts or screw just fell out, but I'm gonna go hunting for that. My goodness, this is crazy. Man, when I got this car, I would have never thought I'd have it torn apart this far. But here we are. This is crazy. This is where we're gonna end off for tonight. It's probably after midnight at this point. I don't know if I quite iterated this correctly, but the main bolts that you need to remove this dash are there, the one on the other side right there, and then the ones across the top, and then the 2 that go right here. I think that's really, and then, you know, these right here for the steering column. So those were already loose for the steering column. But other than that, all the other little screws I pulled out, I probably didn't need to pull out, other than maybe that one air vent one, so we could get the harness out for the gauge cluster. So picking up where we left off, we're about to start pulling this AC box out of here. We're gonna go in here and start taking off these bolts all around the perimeter of it, and then there's a couple that come from the outside in. So we got the firewall bolts out from the other side, so now we're moving inside. You can see the daylight. There was one screw there. I removed that. There's another one from the firewall way out here in the middle of the firewall that comes in. We got that one, and then there's 3 along the bottom. One right there, and then the last one I've got to take out is right there. All right, all of our bolts are out. We should be able to pull this sucker out of here. There it is. Yeah, now I just gotta get her out of the car without hurting nothing. That sucker is out of there. Wonderful, wonderful. Lots of room made up here now. It's been a couple days now because we were waiting for this to come in, but we have got our AC block off panel now, and we're gonna get this sucker installed. That sucker fits so good it'll just sit there. I don't even have any bolts in it yet, but it looks like we can reuse a couple of the factory bolts. This guy here, that one there, and that one. So the ones that come from the inside out are the ones that we can still use, and the rest of these we'll have to get some hardware for. Got our hardware all rounded up here. Looks like 5/16 bolts will be perfect, and you'll need 6 of those, as well as the 4 that came from the inside. And we need to silicone this sucker on. I was going to use black, but this is what I got, so we're going to make do with what we got. So now it's being held in there by the screws from the inside, and I got them just on there loosely, and so I can get the rest of them through, and then I can start sinking them suckers down. Okay, so we've got these screws tightened up. We got a little bit of a squeeze on the outside. For a little trick for that is just to go ahead and let it dry like that, and just come with a razor knife later and clean it up. It's better than swiping on it and smearing it everywhere. But now we're gonna start getting nuts on the other side of these bolts, and we'll be all wrapped up. Is all wrapped up. A little more squeezing through now, but that's a good thing. We can clean that up later. And when we go to paint the engine bay, which you're going to see in the next video or two, is we are going to remove these bolts again probably when we go to paint it after the silicone all seals up, and then we'll leave these screws in here because I'm not too worried about getting some paint on those. Don't got my work light in here, sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and incorporate some of these bolts here to make a panel to mount my fuse box for my switch panels, mount my relays and all my electronics right in here. And then you could drop the glove box down and access all that stuff once the dash is back in. Pretty happy with how it looks as well. That stainless look, the natural stainless look, is going to play in perfectly to the theme of the car, but y'all will see that in the future. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.